Good morning to all of you. So, I'll be talking on podium presentation today. And what we'll do today is we'll plot all the norms and rules and regulations of podium presentation. And we have started itself with technical glitches, which should not be there. And it sometimes happen I came around half an hour early. But since there were many glitches, so it took some time to arrange things. So I was wondering why I was giving a presentation of podium presentation when the times have changed. There are no podiums anywhere. Wherever the podiums are, people are not allowed to accumulate there. There is social distancing. And the era has completely changed from podium to online presentations. But since the topic is podium presentation, I'll talk about podium presentation only. But I'll tell you that most of the rules of podium presentation also applies to the online presentation. And one of the most important rule is to dress properly and present well in front of the audience. ये स्लाइड का सिंपल हो गया हाँ okay. So do remember that whenever you are there online presentation, dress well, wear your jacket, shirts, but don't forget to wear your pants. That is also very important. And this has happened here online only, when a journalist tried to be smart, but he was caught. His pants was not actually covered in his own computer, but was displayed online to whole of the world. And during his presentation only, he came to know. And to save the embarrassment, he actually had to make his own fun. So this is how it is. So what is podium presentation? It is almost like a journey. And that journey starts as soon as you receive invitation for the podium presentation. So the first things that comes to your mind is, what is the presentation forum? So there can be different types of forum which we'll just discuss. What is the type of audience, the number of audience, and what is the type of podium presentation. So all these things are very, very important, because to know what type of audience will help you prepare your presentation speech. So personally speaking, it is very easy for all medical people to present in front of your peers and colleagues, in front of students. But if you are ever asked to prepare your talk to deliver in front of patients and their family members, then it becomes a completely different ball game and is the most difficult presentation to make, because you have to explain all medical terminologies in your local dialect, and which is very, very difficult. So after you inquire about all these things, then comes the time for literature search or data acquisition and processing. So it is always better to know the topic beforehand so that you could organize your thoughts. So there can be different types of podium presentation. They can be keynote address, breakout and concurrent sessions, free paper, award paper and abstract presentations, roundtable and panel discussions. So what is a keynote speech? Or keynote presentation is a speech which is taken at the public speaking, and is the main talk that actually establishes the mood and theme of the day. So if you try to compare it with our own national and international conferences, actually the keynote speech should be the first speech in the morning on the first day of the conference. So what is the first session that we have in conference? Is the breakfast session. And what actually happens in our places is, the new people or the young people, actually the keynote address in our conferences is a presidential oration. And we keep presidential oration at around 11 o'clock after the inauguration. And why do we do so? Because we want audience to come by that time. So the most important time that a keynote address should have is actually used by fillers. And people like me who are new are given those opportunities. So I have spoken 8 to 9 lectures many times. I have very good experiences of those lectures. Once I was invited to an international conference which was held here only. So my lecture was at 8 o'clock in the morning, So it was peak of winters. So when I reached there at 7:30, there was no one in the hall. At 5 or 10 minutes to lecture, three or four people arrived who were actually the chairpersons. So we waited for some more time, delayed the session, but nobody came. So they thought that we should take the breakfast area. Maybe we could get some audience there. So we went to the breakfast area. There were around 25 odd people who were taking breakfast. So we sent that bell guy, जो घंटी बजाता ना लोगों को बुलाने के लिए, but nobody turned up. So in a big hall, I was the speaker, and there were four listeners. Four of them were either they were the organizing committee people or they were chairpersons. So when we were waiting for this talk, a American person came and this sat just beside me. We were still waiting for the people to arrive. So I started conversation with him. So I asked him. So my lecture was on headache. So I asked him whether I think you are interested in headache. That's why you come in the morning. Nobody else has come. So he said, "No, sir, my lecture is next to you." So this is how it is. So we should not waste that important time of 8 to 9 for fillers. It should be meant for a keynote speech or a presidential oration. So now people have started doing these breakfast sessions, and they serve breakfast at in the same hall so that the people are there only, and they take breakfast and they listen to the talk. Second is a breakout session. In breakout session, small groups break out from the general group lecture. So it is very uncommon nowadays, but it is seen where there are small workshops organized after a main lecture. So what happens is all the audience sit in a big lecture room. All of them listen to the talk first, and then they break up into the same hall where they have kept different equipments for hands-on. So people choose their station and they go to that station, and then they change their stations also. So I have attended few workshops like this. These are called breakout sessions. They are not very common nowadays. The more common thing is concurrent sessions, which we see in all conferences. When we receive that flyer of a conference program, you'll see that there are halls, hall A, hall B, hall C, hall D, and all the halls are going at the same time. These are called concurrent sessions. These are multiple small group presentations, and they replace a big general group or general lecture. Then there is a free paper and award paper. These are meant for students and researchers to present their work. Time allotted is usually less than 15 minutes. There is a strict format of slide presentation, and each session includes 5 to 10 speakers. So if you see very logically, this is the session actually which is the most deserved one. Rest all the lectures that we all give are actually borrowed lectures. Only few of them are actually really invited, and people use all the tricks and things to beg lectures nowadays because everybody wants to present nowadays. So that is again a new problem in organizing conferences nowadays, because nobody wants to come as an audience. So what we do is we invite people either as speakers or as chairpersons. So I have attended many conferences where I have given lectures also, where for each given lecture there are 5 chairpersons and one moderator, and nobody knows what their job is. So this is how it is. So I think that free paper award paper is the most deserved one, because you send your work first, and that work is selected on merit, and then you are allowed to present your work. So it's the most important in my view. Then these are the new things which are coming: roundtable conferences and presentations. These are actually very good, and they are very very informative, and they actually are very time friendly also. There in the roundtable presentation, 5 to 10 people sit around a table. They decide on a topic, and each of one of them prepares on a subtopic. They sit together. There are also audience there in the roundtable presentation. They sit around the table. They talk informally from their handouts. Nowadays, people also talk from their laptops and iPads, but even they can talk from handouts. The time given for each speaker is 2 to 5 minutes. After everybody has spoken, then they discuss about the topic. And this is a new thing which is very much going on in actually in New Delhi and Mumbai. The roundtable presentations are very, very frequent. Then there is a panel discussion. Here the panel is formed on a dais and a stage. There are large number of audience there. The panelists sit on the panel and face the audience. Each panelist has to go to the podium and speak. The time is given for about 5 to 10 minutes. And after that, the panel discusses that topic among themselves. And finally, it opens the panel for the audience to comment and to discuss. So now the issue is how to prepare your speech. So what we think is that making a presentation is the most important part of the speech, but believe me, it is the least important part. The other important parts are to organize your thought, prepare for speech delivery, recognize and manage stage anxiety, and organize your presentation and speech. So how you organize your thought? The process of organizing your thought starts as soon as you get the topic. And from a topic, you have to choose a topic wisely. So why I'm saying so, when a topic is already given to you, you should think wisely about that topic. See how much you can cover out of it. Because usually the time given nowadays is 30 minutes for your presentation. Maximum it is 40 or 45 minutes. And sometimes the topics given are very broad. So within that broad topic, one has to choose what you want to tell. So how you choose? You think about the objectives of your presentation, and you first, after reading about your presentation, about your topic, you first devise your take home message. And once you have made your take home message, then you prepare your presentation. And your presentation should actually circulate around your take home message. So it is the other way out that most of us do. And that is the reason when we summarize our talk, we are not actually making a lot of sense because it is made the either way. So to give an example, I was given once a topic, approach to headache. So when I started thinking about headache, I realized that the classification of headache only spans on 179 pages, and there are 222 types of headaches. So how to sum up the approach to headache in 30 minutes? So the objective was to keep the approach simple and to discuss only about the common headaches. And the common headaches are migraine, tension headache, and cluster headache. So the conclusion was that the careful history, awareness of red flags for secondary headache, and a plain CT of head are usually sufficient to diagnose most headaches. So this is how one has to devise. And for delivering of speech, again, you have to prepare, and this scene is actually a nightmare for any speaker. And to avoid this, one has to very wisely prepare for delivering of your presentation. So we think is, but what we think is that when we start talking, our presentation starts, but it is not so. So as soon as you walk and come to the dais, your presentation starts there only. So once you are in the public eye, in the view of audience, your presentation starts. So what you should do is do your setup before coming to the dais and review your slides and videos in the preview room. So what is this preview room? In all conferences, there is a room which is just adjoining the stage, usually. And you go to that room prior to your presentation. You load your presentation in the preview room and you ask the technician there to run your presentation. So when you run your presentation, you have to see for especially for your photographs and videos. You run your videos there, see they are smooth, and you also see whether the sound is coming well or not. So once you're sure, then only you go to the podium for your presentation. So now the issue is that in international and national conferences, those who are managing the preview room are good people. They know their job. But in many state conferences and local conferences, they're the local people who are managing preview rooms and they themselves do not know much about what they are doing. So you have to judge it immediately. And what you should do is you should keep yourself handy with a pen drive and your presentation should be loaded in a pen drive. Now the problem is when you run your videos from a pen drive, they won't run. So what you should do is you make a folder, you keep a video in that folder. The videos should also be there separately. What you do is that from that pen drive, you make that pathway, you insert those videos from that folder only, and probably then your videos will run. So in case they don't run, they don't get panic. Minimize your PowerPoint, open the folder and run the video separately. But the only thing is you should not get panicky if your videos don't run. Don't bother much. This happens all the time. More you prepare, more technical glitches you will face. And it is very, very usual that the videos won't run no matter how hard you try. So this is what we all do. Sometimes what we do is we insist there that we want to do our presentation from our own computer. So this is also wise, but you should see that if you find that the people are not very professional, then you can also opt for this option. Second is you should dress very effectively, not the way one would dress in an online presentation. You have to see the audience, type of audience, and should dress according to that. When you start your presentation, you should not look from your notes or you should not read from your slides, because as soon as you do it, you lose the confidence of the audience. And when you start speaking, you establish effective and constant eye contact with the audience, which is very, very important. The other thing is, what is your body language when you stand in front of the audience? So you may appear confident, you may appear nervous, and you may also appear arrogant. So the best advice is you should appear confident. And to appear confident, you should stand with your hands open. The most important thing of a podium presentation is don't stand behind the podium. Podiums actually are kept as a logistic there, but the public speaking schools always advise not to stand behind the podium. If there is an opportunity, come in front of the audience, stand in the center, and then deliver your talk. You can walk in the audience also, which actually wakes up the audience. So it is also important. And while speaking, the animated facial expressions and dramatic pauses are actually very, very important. All these things you should do to attain that important the audience concentration towards your topic or your presentation. The certain things which actually makes you look nervous, like fidgeting, playing with the objects, rocking here and there, throat clearing. So throat clearing is a very, very important sign of nervousness. And if you have that, it goes away with practice. You should only be aware about it. And you should not appear arrogant. There are certain postures which makes you feel that you are arrogant, especially if you start pointing fingers towards the audience. So arms on the hips, crossed arms, they all show that you are arrogant. Sometimes we also do it just to dispel the nervousness, but this is advisable not to do these things. You never read from your slides. So how it can happen? It can happen only if you prepare your speech well. Speak with authority and confidence. This again will come if you practice well prior to your presentation. The speaker also require a lot of confidence, and confidence comes if you see that the audience are actually appearing interested in your talk. So you randomly spot in the room, see how many people are looking towards you. So you try to maintain eye contact with those participants and frequently change those eye contact from one participant to other every few seconds. You should be perceived as if you are taking charge of your of the podium or the stage, and you should also encourage audience to participate. So there is no harm if you in the beginning of your presentation you ask participants to disturb the presentation in between and ask questions. It is actually always advisable to do so. It doesn't break the motto of the speech, but rather it actually gives more confidence to the presenter. So it is said by George Jessel that human brain is a wonderful thing. It starts working the moment you are born and never stops until you stand up to speak in the public. So it happens, it has happened with all of us. And the reason is stage anxiety. So one should know how to manage stage anxiety. Somehow I've realized that stage anxiety is a kind of a dogma in our society of medics. We never discuss about it, despite the fact there is something which belongs to us only. It occurs, it happens to us all the time, and the management also lies in our hands, but we never discuss about it. I don't know why we feel so shy about it. I have suffered from it all my life, and I still try to manage every time I come on the stage. So there are few things which you should always remember, that the audience doesn't know that you are anxious. They'll only know when you show them that you are anxious. So your body language should be such that you should not appear anxious. It is only those who teach about podium will know that the specific presenter is actually anxious. You should think about delivering the message and not about yourself. So anxiety occurs when you start thinking about you. How am I looking? Will I be able to do justice with the topic? Will I be able to deliver? You don't have to think all these things. Prepare well. You should be very clear about your message. Deliver the message with a bang. And you should not worry about anything else. If you still feel that you will not be able to do justice, you will be forgetting your things, there is no harm in preparing a handout. Keep a handout into the inner pocket of your coat all the time. And I can vouch for it that if you keep a handout in your pocket, you'll never use it. But if you don't keep it, then you'll always have a problem of speaking. So I have seen my teachers in KGMC also. I clearly remember there are people who are considered best orators here in Lucknow and elsewhere also. And I have seen them preparing, standing in the hall, empty hall. And when they go, they have the small chits in their pockets. So there is no harm in keeping a handout. It is always advisable. Prepare well in advance. So our problem is we get a topic 1 month back, but we prepare our presentation on the last day. And this is happening to all of us. Now we have become used to it. We know that we'll be able to manage it. But for new people, it is better you prepare in advance. So you'll not panicky at the end of the time just before your presentation. Rehearse in front of your family, friends, and mirror. As I told you that I have seen my teachers rehearsing in the departmental library where nobody was there. When you rehearse, you should have a stopwatch along with you in your phone and try to complete within the given time. It is also advisable to familiarize with the venue and go half an hour, 1 hour or before your presentation and just have an idea of what kind of audience is there. So if you see there are certain patterns you will realize when you go to the conferences. What people do is the audiences would like to sit in the back corners of the hall because they want to chat. But what the presenters will do, they'll sit in the first row. And you'll always see this. And the reason is because they have to manage the stage anxiety. They reach well in advance when the previous lectures are going on. They sit in the first few rows. And what they do is they stand up after their presentation and ask questions. Why do they do so? Because once they start speaking prior to their own lectures, the early part of stage anxiety, which happens with speaking first on the mic, goes away on just asking those questions. And when they themselves reach on the podium, they are better off. So we see people doing all these things, but they'll never discuss with you. So I'm telling you the secrets. And we also, we all do like this only. Avoid tea and coffee before presentations, but it is again personal. As I have previously also told that having a tea on the podium actually helps me. And if you're feeling that you're having a lot of palpitations and not able to speak, just breathe. It will go away within few seconds only. So it is very important that we are aware of all these things. Then comes uh, the least important part of the four things, the organize your presentation. So the presentation actually has got three parts: opening of speech, body of speech, and closing of speech. So how to open? There are three ways to open the speech. The easiest way is to start with a question related to a topic. It is least advised, but if you don't have any other idea, then you can start with a question. Or better to that is to shock the audience with some facts. The facts may be related to your topic or maybe unrelated, but in some context with your topic. And the best one is to initiate conversation with a story or a joke related to the topic or maybe unrelated. Depends upon how much confidence you have. So it is very difficult to create jokes which are effective, especially in the opening of speech. And once you realize that your joke is effective, then I've seen that people tend to use that same joke in all their presentations. And the reason is it is very difficult to get new jokes. So if you know that a joke is effective, you may use it many times in your presentations. So there are certain things which we should avoid while opening the speech. There are two types of openings which we should not encourage. One is false opening and other is negative opening. So the false opening is introducing yourself and your topic. So when you make your first slide, you write the topic, you write your name, your designation, and everything else. And you don't have to read it because audience have already read about it. They have a flyer in their pocket. They know that who is coming, which topic it is. So you should not waste time on it. This is a false opening. Starting your talk with, am I audible? Am I wired? How much time do I have? I am the expert of this topic and I think I'll be able to do justice. All these things are false openings. These are highly discouraged. There are certain negative openings also. Like, I'm not sure whether I'll be do justice to this topic. Sorry for being late. Hope you don't mind if I do this or that. These are all negative openings. Again, these are also discouraged. But what happens is that in our local environment, people are not aware of all these things. And there are certain trends which are so prevalent that people feel that this probably is the right way of doing it. So if you ever attend our convocations and foundation day, see how the people sitting on the stage open their speech. उनका स्पीच शुरू होता है कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, आदरणीय डायरेक्टर साहब, आदरणीय रजिस्ट्रार साहब, चीफ सेक्रेटरी जी, सबके वो नाम लेंगे एक एक करके. If there are 10 people, they'll take name of all the 10 people. And all those 10 people will take those 10 names again and again. And that will waste around 30 or 45 minutes. So when you do that, what happens is that the interest of the audience goes away in your speech. So this is actually discouraged. But what happens is this has become a kind of a norm in all political speech. It is all right for political speeches because the audience they are sitting may not be knowing all this, but for people where intellectual people are sitting, these are highly discouraged. But हम लोग सब बियर करते हैं इसको और इसका कोई सॉल्यूशन भी नहीं है. So this is how it is. So I show you this video. This is a video of Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who is member of parliament. He once spoke in Oxford Union about the topic, does Britain owe reparations to India? So just observe everything about this opening of speech, from the way the person talks and comes to the stage, how he is dressed, how he manages his stage anxiety, and how he delivers his opening of speech. Just listen to it.
President and gentlemen, ladies of the House, I, standing here with 8 minutes in my hands and this venerable and rather magnificent institution, I was going to assure you that I belong to the Henry VIII School of Public Speaking, that as Henry VIII said to his wives, I shall not speak too long. But now finding myself the seventh speaker out of eight in what must already seem a rather long evening to you, I rather feel like Henry VIII's last wife. I more or less know what's expected of me, but I'm not sure how to do it any differently. Perhaps what I should do is really try and pay attention to the arguments that were advanced by the opposition today. We had, for example, Sir Richard Offway suggesting, challenging the very idea that it could be argued that the economic situation of the colonies was actually worsened by the experience of British colonialism. Will I step?
So I start it again. Just I want to show few things here in this video clip. So now this fellow is very aptly dressed for the audience. He comes to the stage. He is carrying a glass of water along with him because he knows that the sympathetic drive actually increases when you are on the podium and actually dries your mouth. And when your mouth dries, it becomes difficult to speak. So one has to take water while speaking. So it is all right to have a glass or bottle of water along with you. Then you see here in this frame, it is the podium. The podium is there at the back, and nobody can actually go there and stand behind the podium. They have kept the podium aside. And he is coming to the stage and standing in front in the open view, where he is completely seen from his shoes to his toes. And then during the talk, with the beginning of the talk, it clears his throat once or twice, which again shows that the people like Shashi Tharoor, who are very apt, who have done courses of public speaking, the best orators in the country, also have stage anxiety, and that to get away from it. And then he opens his speech with a joke. And when you listen to this joke for the first time, you will be amused, because such intellectual people can use such kind of jokes very, very effectively in the audience which are actually intellectual. So there is no harm in having these kind of jokes, because once you realize that a joke is effective, you will tend to use it. Now after that, I listened to many of his talks, and he has used the same joke in many, many places. So people do not change their jokes, because effective jokes are very difficult to find, and opening of speech is very, very important. So after opening of speech comes the body of speech. Now, when we prepare our presentations, all our stress is on body of speech. We make slides, we try not to skip anything. But if you go by the evidence, there have been studies where people have been asked, what do you remember out of these talks? And the answer was that 80% of what people remembered was either from the opening of the speech or from the closing of the speech. Body of speech actually, which actually is the main thing for which you are there, but body of speech actually contributes only 20%. So one should actually take a lot of time to devise opening and closing of speech. You should also be knowing what to speak in body of speech and what not to speak. So that we'll discuss just now. So first you introduce your topic, and then in first or second slides give an outline of your speech. So again, this is the place where most of us falter. So what happens in our morning routines, in our seminars and journal clubs, especially in journal clubs, some of the residents do have this slide of outline, and that outline shows I will be presenting in introduction, methods, results, and conclusion. So this is something which everybody knows, that every journal will have these 4 topics. So one should not have this kind of outline of speech. Rather, you can say, the first thing you should say is, why have I chosen this topic? Second thing is, what has been discussed in the past and why you found that this is something unique. Third thing should be in methods, that I have chosen this paper because it has got certain unique methods which we can use. Or in some other way, you can discuss the methods in 1 or 2 lines, and then results and conclusion again very briefly. And then you come on to your journal. Rather than writing introduction, method, result, and conclusion, you can use your intellect to make one slide which should be very, very effective. And actually that will be the slide which will be remembered most. Then you should use figures, graphs, charts to express facts. You can use URLs, videos, pictures to prove your point. Now, I personally feel that we should avoid tables, especially in general clubs. We what we do is we copy tables and we paste tables on slides. It is actually not advisable. The reason is that when you take a picture and you present the you paste that table, that loses its sheen. It is not as good as it appears on the paper. Number one. Number two, these are big tables. They are very messy. Nobody is able to read anything from them. Then it makes your slide very busy. Busy slides, as a rule, should be avoided. So what we do is, if you find anything which is more important, very important in the table, two, three, four facts, you just make your own small table. There is a method of inserting a table into PowerPoint. Make your own table, two, three rows, two, three columns, not more than that, and put things into that, rather than making a table, copy pasting it, and then highlighting things that you want to tell. It's actually not advisable. Then flowcharts. Sometimes we see that people use very messy flowcharts. Harrison से flowchart लिया और पूरा चिपका दिया. No, it is a norm that messy flowchart should be used only and only when your topic is only messy flowcharts. Otherwise, you should not use messy flowcharts. So you can simplify it, make your own flowchart out of it. But all these things, but why do we do? Because we prepare our presentation on the very last day. You should make some time to prepare them. Rest of the things you already have to just copy and paste. You just have to read and write. These are few slides, like a slide of a table, a slide of a figure, a slide of a flowchart that you have to prepare. So you actually see only 3 or 4 slides you have to make. Rest you all have to copy and paste. So at least you should give time for these 4, 5 slides, which actually are the crux of your body of speech, because nobody is going to remember anything else that you speak in the body of speech. You should keep your presentation as simple as possible. You should try to finish it in time. What I do is, if I have given 30 minutes, I'll make only 30 slides. Today I have given 1 hour, I have made only 30 slides. So this is how it is. Do not make many slides. I have seen residents making 80 to 100 slides for their general presentation. It's not advisable. What we think is that the content is everything, which is actually very, very false. You should not chase topic. Audience are not interested in knowing that how much have you covered. If you chase your topic, you end up telling nothing. Nobody is able to remember anything. Actually, the audience get bored and they are simply waiting for you to finish. You should also use interjections, questions, jokes related to the topic to break the monotony of the speech. So, just to tell you about that, this is a very famous painting by M.F. Hussain, Peta. It's a Mother Teresa series, oil on canvas. So, when I first saw this picture, actually, it hold my attention, and the reason was not the Christ or the Mother Mary or the other figures. I was just wondering what these two pillars are. Why the artist has drawn these two pillars? What do they convey? So my younger sister is an artist. She's a sculpturist and a painter. So I asked her कि ये क्यों बनाया M.F. हुसैन ने ये दो वर्टिकल पिलर्स, इससे क्या कन्वे होता है इसमें? तो उसने कहा कि जो पेंटर्स हैं ना, वो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट फिगरेटिव में भी एब्स्ट्रैक्शन करते हैं. तो ये फिगरेटिव पेंटिंग है. So what they do is they create certain things which are just interesting. They hold the attention of the crowd, and by making these two pillars in this figure, actually it has broken the monotony of this painting. You are not interested in the background. You are just thinking why these pillars are made. And to just impress upon you, see one more painting, similar painting made by some other artists who have not drawn these pillars. And if you compare these two, you will realize that this painting appears monotonous. It doesn't hold your attention. So the same phenomena actually goes for body of speech also. It should be broken into parts. You should very carefully devise jokes into it. You can have dramatic pauses in between, because sometimes the audience sleep because of that monotony of the voice. You break that monotony by a pause. If you stop speaking for a few seconds, you will see that the eyes of the audience will open up and they will see कि खत्म तो नहीं हो गया. So this is how it is. Body of speech should lead to a very concise and meaningful conclusion, and one should leave some time for questions and answers. तो हम लोग जब रेजिडेंट्स थे तो क्या करते थे कि हमारे अगर बहुत खड़ूस टीचर है तो अगर 40 मिनट मिले हैं तो 45 मिनट बोलना है ताकि क्वेश्चन का टाइम ना बचे. बट दिस इज समथिंग विच इज नॉट एडवाइजेबल. उसका रीजन ये है कि ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम यू विल रियलाइज दैट if people are not asking questions at the end of your presentation, it feels as if you have not contributed anything. और ये खराब लगता है. और अब ये हो गया है कि जो चेयर पर्सन है अगर कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछता तो वो जस्ट एज ए रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ द स्पीकर दे आस्क फ्यू क्वेश्चंस. सो इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू शुड प्रेजेंट इन सच अ वे कि कुछ क्वेश्चंस उसके बाद बचें लोगों के पास. अदरवाइज इट डजंट लुक नाइस. So for that one has to prepare well in advance. And then there comes the closing of speech. So there are certain prerequisites of closing of speech, that it should not be jerky closing of speech. जैसे हम लोग करते हैं कि टॉपिक खत्म हुआ और उसके बाद थैंक यू, तो ये जर्की क्लोजिंग ऑफ स्पीच है, इट शुड बी अवॉइडेड. टेक 1 or 2 slides to summarize the topic, followed by a slide of take home message. Actually, you should make a summarize the summary and take home message first, and then prepare your body of speech. A humorous phrase to close is far better than writing a thank you. And choose whether you wish to say thank you or your audience want to say thank you. ये भी आप पे डिपेंड करता है कि आप कैसा प्रेजेंट करते हैं. So to summarize, a strong opening and closing are key to successful podium presentation. Choose your topic wisely, research well, decide your take-home message in the beginning of speech writing. Visuals, body language, eye contacts are key to successful presentation. Manage stage fright. स्टेज फ्राइट के बारे में फिर बताता हूँ मैं आपको कि ये डोगमा है हमारी सोसाइटी में. वी नेवर टॉक अबाउट इट, वी ऑल सफर फ्रॉम इट. You should talk about it with your friends. I have seen people being prescribed drugs like propranolol and clonazepam to avoid stage fright. It is so much prevalent in our society. बट हमें इससे लड़ना होता है. उसका तरीका है कि आप बार बार प्रेजेंट करिए और उसके बाद ये कम हो जाता है. जाता नहीं है, कम हो जाता है, बहुत कम हो जाता है, negligible. But you should work on it. So I can tell you that the best orators are those who practice and rehearse again and again. I have seen my teachers rehearsing, so there is no denying fact. And I still believe that there is no perfect orator. Always there is a lot of scope for everyone to learn. जैसे ये प्रेजेंटेशन हम 4-5 बार पहले कर चुके, पोडियम प्रेजेंटेशन, और हर बार हमको मिलता है पोडियम. बाकी लोगों को भी ऐसे मिलता है. वो इसलिए मिलता है कि वो कहते हैं कि जब तक अच्छा नहीं करोगे तो आप ही करते रहो इसको. तो हम लोग इसमें कोशिश कर रहे हैं, हर बार कुछ अच्छा करने की कोशिश करते हैं. सो आई एम नॉट अ वेरी गुड ओरेटर, बट दैट इज वाई दिस डिक्टम गोज वेल. Those who can, they do. Those who can't, they teach. So that is why I teach podium presentation. Thank you.